Let's see here. Okay. And close that. Okay. Go here. Oh, you stupid phone. Work. There we go. Okay. Okay, let me get the microphone over here. There we go. That ought to do it. Hi, Nick. Hi, Dark Star. I don't care what Bond does. Bond can do whatever he wants. Couldn't care less. Hello, Juggernauts. Hello, Ben. No 7th Halloween. I already told y'all. No 7th Halloween. That's not happening. Nope. Not this year, anyway. Besides which, I haven't really been watching that many horror movies. I've watched a few. Not anything that I would consider, like, amazingly fantastic. Like, for instance, a couple of nights ago, I watched The Boogeyman. It was pretty meh. And I'm not talking about the one that came out in the early 2000s. I'm talking about the one that came out this year that's loosely based, very loosely based on a Stephen King short story. Not very good. What do you want for the new Wolverine game? Well, I want it to be at least as good as X-Men Origins Wolverine. I don't think that Insomniac's whole open world sandbox thing really works for Wolverine, so I hope they have something completely different up their sleeve in that regard. What game deserves a DBTS this year? Definitely Redfall. That one kind of goes without saying. Other than that one, though, I can't really think of any like legit crappy games that I played this year, not off the top of my head. Just that one. Because, I mean, I don't like Starfield, but I don't think it's crappy. I mean, it's just your average Bethesda game. Nothing really spectacular that sets it apart from the others as far as I'm concerned. We'll be starting officially in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Don't know how that got turned off. Hi, Alexis. I haven't played Gollum. So, I couldn't really speak on Gollum. I'm not going to talk about how a game is crap unless I've actually played it and I can speak from experience. Who do you think I am? Crap gamer? I don't do that. Give us a family story like when your grandmother called you turd. We'll see. Might tell you a story that I shared on Twitter this week that actually went almost viral. It got like 34,000 views This little story that I told on Twitter got like 300 likes and 30 something thousand views. And it wasn't even a post it wasn't my own post. I was replying to somebody else's post. And I got that many views off of a reply. I might tell you that story later on. Hi, Shadow Deist. We'll be getting going here in about 3 minutes. See if you want to get in like some little simple to answer post-show questions. This would be the time. I apologize for the abrupt ending of the 7thCast last week. I was getting ready to say my goodbyes, and all of a sudden I get a big blue warning. Windows has encountered an error and needs to shut down, and my whole system rebooted. Don't know what caused it. No clue. Went through the error log, and all it just told me was that the system had rebooted itself. That's all that was in the error log. No idea. I missed your cameo in Adventures in Game Chasing, but I saw your name in the credits. Okay. Do you remember the scene where Billy and Jay and Chief and Eric were all sitting in a living room watching TV and Jay was eating ice cream? Well, while they're sitting there talking, it keeps flashing over to the television to show what they're watching. And at one point, a commercial comes on for a American Pickers style hunting at garage sale type show. And that show, that commercial, gives them the idea for going and buying stuff at garage sales and selling it. Well, guess who the host of that show was? Me. Dressed up as a big fat redneck with overalls. You know, well, I offered him $2 for the floating head, which, it still floats, so that seemed like a good deal. That was me. Which is better, Looney Tunes or Tom and Jerry? I prefer Looney Tunes. Yes, exactly. Ray McLowball. That was the name of my character. I was the host of that crappy American Pickers ripoff show that was in the commercial there. And I was actually supposed to be in the movie twice because Eric had a dream sequence where, for some weird reason, I show up in his dream. And I'm looking around like, why the hell am I in Eric's dream kind of thing? And Eric gets crowned like king of the universe or some crap. And I'm just like both in awe and disgusted at the same time. And so I'm just giving him this weird look as they're putting the crown on his head. That scene ended up getting cut. So I originally had 2 scenes. It got whittled down to 1. Anyway, it's Saturday. It's 6 o'clock, October 28th, 2023. And this is the 7thCast. As always, I'm your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. 8th is at work. He'll be getting home to come get the dog in a little bit here. So, Vita or 3DS? Vita. I dreamed that my mom was driving her car on a roller coaster. That sounds dangerous. Did you tell them to call you 7th in the credits? Yes, because I didn't want my real name out there. Of course. And they abided by it. My real name is nowhere on that movie, nowhere. And I have a nice autographed Blu-ray copy sitting in the game room right now. My cinematic debut. How much did you get paid? Nothing. They didn't have no budget. I did it because they asked me to. They needed that part filled. They had been rushed, didn't have anybody that they hired for it. Billy asked me if I would do it. He sent me the lines. I sent him back an audition of me reading the lines. He thought it was hilarious. So he said, yeah, let's do it. And so I did it. Hi, Chris G. Did they think you was being weird for being called Seventh? No. That's what all of them know me by. I've only ever told them my real name like once, and that was 6.5 years ago, and they've forgotten it. So everybody still just calls me Seventh when I'm around. And they call Eighth Eighth. Did you watch the Side Scrollers podcast episode with Billy? No, I didn't. Who's your favorite Spider-Man movie character? Actor, I think you meant. Tom, Andrew, or Toby? I like sections of each. Andrew Garfield was the best at slinging one-liners as Spidey. Toby was the best at being Peter. And Tom was best with the more kind of emotional stuff. And he was good with the one-liners too. So there's bits and pieces of their performance that I all like. Seventh, in the Bible, is it considered a sin to be slothful? I don't know. I know that the Catholics consider it one of the 7 deadly sins, but again, you can look up 7 deadly sins. You're not going to find it in the Bible. That's a Catholic thing. Will you ever tell your... Why would I? This is the internet. You don't need to know that. Shadow on thin ice. Yes, he is. Asking me if I'm willing to share my real name means that you're interested in looking for it. So you skipped strike 1 and went straight to strike 2 with that one. What's your favorite Sonic game? Sonic 2. Anyway, today is mainly Q&A. In case there's any follow-up questions that you guys want to ask about Trey for Life since the season is over. All 10 episodes are up now for viewing. So if there's anything that you want to discuss about the show, the few of you who've actually watched it, that's what tonight is for. Also, today I marathoned this new show on Netflix called Pluto. And Pluto takes place in the Astro Boy universe. But it ain't like watching Astro Boy. This show is dark, okay? It's not Berserk dark, but it's dark. It's a murder mystery that takes place in the Astro Boy universe. Now, because this came over from Japan, even when you watch it dubbed, he's not called Astro, he's called what they call him in Japan, which is Atom. A-T-O-M. And so he's known as Atom in it, but somebody is going around murdering the most powerful robots on the planet and the scientists who designed them. And you're mostly following this robot who's a detective as he tries to piece together everything that's going on. And Astro is pretty much a side character through most of the movie. He gets more active in it towards the last couple of episodes, but for most of the show, he's just a side character. It's 8 episodes long, and each episode is an hour long. And it was fantastic. I got hooked on it right from the first episode. And I couldn't stop watching it. I started watching it like 6 o'clock this morning because, I'm old, which means that even when I want to sleep in, my body still wakes me up somewhere between 6 and 7 a.m., no matter what. And so I had nothing to do, so I pulled up Netflix, decided to start watching it, and I watched it all the way through. and it was amazing. Can't recommend it highly enough. If you've got Netflix, check out Pluto. It was great. Animation was great. Acting was great. Story was phenomenal. Music was... I mean, you know, I don't get all that emotional, especially not from anime. But that one drop kicks you in the feels a few times. Trust me. Let's see here. Minus Sonic Unleashed and Forces. I didn't like Forces. Sonic Unleashed, I haven't played Frontier at all. From Ultra Steel 7th, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie did good with audience ratings. Seems like video game movies only work if they don't try to be a blockbuster. Is the 2020s the decade of video game films? Really, I think that's just, at this point, Hollywood is kind of out of ideas. And so they're just riding on the coattails of the video game industry because it's still making money. I think that's really all it is. And whether the movie is good or not just depends on, you know, who's running it and whether they actually have a love for the source material or not. 8th went to see Five Nights at Freddy's. I didn't go see it. He went to see it with friends, and he said something like it was aggressively passable or aggressively watchable. Something. In other words, he didn't think it was like fantastic, but he had fun watching it. From Vincent, did I hear you correctly on a previous stream that you're aware of the lolcow that is Cyrax? Yes. I'm familiar with Cyrax and Chris Chan and, you know, several of the other ones out there. Like King Cobra JFS. I'm very familiar with King Cobra. I've beaten Rise Son of Rome, Nick. I never played the multiplayer, though, because I didn't give a crap about it. It's passable. You know, it feels like a clone of old God of War, is what it feels like. Because a lot of it, like all of the combat is about QuickTime events, color-coded QuickTime events. It's okay. It's not a classic. Let's put it that way. 7th, do you like and think Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead is the best zombie film of all time? My favorite zombie movie of all time is Return of the Living Dead Part 2 because I think it's hilarious. I prefer George Romero's Day of the Dead over Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead, but it's not bad. I like it. I just don't think it's as good as the classics. But then again, I'm also kind of burnt out on zombie movies and zombie games. Have you gotten further into the Yuta? It's what I wanted Maximo to be. I don't really think it plays anything like a Ghosts and Goblins style game, so I'm not sure why you would have wanted Maximo to play like Nayuta. And no, I haven't gotten any farther in it because, yeah, as usual, I got distracted by a different game. Hey, 7th, every week I watch these streams, it looks like you're losing weight. No, I'm the exact same weight that I was last week. My weight is weird. Like, last week I lost 6 pounds, and then I weighed myself yesterday, and I'd put the 6 pounds right back on again, even though I was eating the same as I was the week before. I'm just kind of stuck in a rut like that, you know. It'll show I've lost 6 pounds, then I'll gain 4. Then I'll lose 2, then I'll gain 2. I don't know. I really don't know. And neither does the doctors either. I'm shocked I didn't think 8th would like it. I guess it's true. It really is meant for the fans. Yeah, 8th is a big fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's game series. He's beat all of them. Are you familiar with Oh No, It's Alex and Fratanga? Yes, I'm familiar with both of them. 7th, do you think Ash from Evil Dead could beat Jason Voorhees? Yes, I do. Do you like old school kung fu flicks with cringe English voice acting? I like certain ones. Mainly, I like the ones that are more comedic. Not so much, and I'm not just speaking about Jackie Chan. One of the ones that I used to watch USA Kung Fu Theater. Used to come on either Saturdays or Sundays. I can't remember now. Back in the 80s, and they always had these Chinese kung fu movies. And one of the ones that I remember the most was one that was called Little Mad Guy. And he was kind of this short, squashy, not fat, but not looking like he was in shape guy. And he was always getting his butt kicked because his kung fu style was frog. He fought in the frog style. And he was always getting his butt kicked. And I don't remember the whole plot of the movie. I just remember watching it when I was maybe 12 years old and thinking it was hilarious. I haven't seen the Day of the Dead remake. Fluctuating weight, maybe that's common though. Well, it's certainly common for me. It's like when they put me on this new medication, I dropped 65 pounds like that. And then once I got to that point, I'll lose 10 pounds, I'll gain 6 pounds. I'll lose 4 pounds, I'll gain 8 pounds. I hover around the same spot and I just drop from it and go back to it. No idea why. And it's been that way for about 6 months. Yes, I like Johnny Cash. Jason survived more movies. He could take Ash, plus Jason is a creature from a lake. Doesn't matter. Jason ain't going to be able to go after him if Ash slices all of his limbs off with a chainsaw. All he's going to be able to do is look at him from his stumps. Thoughts on the price of the recent Metal Gear collection? Well, it doesn't, Metal Gear are stealth games. I don't play stealth games, so I don't have an opinion about it. We've kind of discussed this, y'all. Human Jason versus Michael Myers. I still kind of think Jason would take him. Even the human version. Especially Part 3 version. But you never can tell. Maybe Michael could pull it off. Thoughts on Bob Barker's death? Well, he went to 99 without going over. What else you want me to say? Jason in Mortal Kombat X could definitely take him. He's very strong in that game. 7th, did you like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? My older sister didn't like it because she was creeped out by Johnny Depp's persona in that film. Well, Johnny Depp has given various references as far as who inspired that performance. I don't believe any of them because he was inspired by Keith Richards for Jack Sparrow. I firmly believe he was inspired by Michael Jackson for his version of Willy Wonka because he acts and talks like Jackson quite a bit in that movie. What are you getting into over there, dog? Huh, Alex? Alex. Come here. What are you getting into over there? Huh? What are you getting into over there? Okay. 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 You gonna say hello to everybody? Say hello to everybody. No? You don't want to say hello? Okay. What would the second season of the console war saga be about? Mostly it would be, Wii U stuff, or Wii, the N-Dub Nation videos, because that's pretty much all that's left of it. That's why I'm saying I don't know that there'll be a season 2, because most of the funniest stuff that happened during that period, aside from how badly I destroyed Black Baron, is the stuff that happened in Skype chats. And the best of those Skype chats aren't on there anymore. They're gone. What was your experience with the Game Boy Advance? My mom bought me one for Christmas in 1998. I had to drive down to Tampa, where they lived at the time, to get it. And I didn't care for it too much at first because, full color but no back screen. And so I really didn't get into Game Boy Advance that much until the SP came out, where I could see it better. What's a game that you consider a guilty pleasure? Deadpool. I know a lot of people hate it. I thought it was fun and funny. What would I do in a zombie apocalypse? I'd be the guy in the back of the camp selling packs of smokes. Why can't you let the dog out again? Do you have a house rule that someone must watch the dog? I just don't like... She's got kind of a separation anxiety type of thing. And so if she knows I'm in this room and I'm the only one here and she's not in the room with me, she'll sit outside the door and scratch at the door and bark and basically disrupt the whole show anyway. So if Eighth's not here, then I keep her in here with me until he gets home so that, she stays quiet while I'm doing the show. 7th, is the Evil Dead TV series worth watching? Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a fan of his sidekicks in the show. I don't really feel like they added anything to it. But, if you liked Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness, it's pretty much the same thing. Have you heard about the recent drama and clickbait videos about executives from David Jaffe? Yes, I've heard about it. 7th, Black Baron seemed a little violent. Well, he wanted you to think he was violent. He was a pro wrestler. So he was cutting promos like a pro wrestler would cut promos. Oh, dog, you just farted. Get out. Dog has magic powers. Whew. Man. Whew, that one was nasty. If someone is shooting in a crowded area, what would you recommend as a safety measure to take? First time you hear a gunshot, duck down and head for the back exit. Take the back exit out and get as far away from the building as possible. If you have a sidearm and you're trained to use it, and you've got the guts to do it, and you've got a clean shot on them, take them out. Otherwise, get out of the building. Seventh, I thought your cameo was one of the bikers at the end of the film. Nope, you were wrong. Interested in Alan Wake 2? No, I am boycotting Alan Wake 2 because there's no physical edition. If it's a AAA game, no physical, no buy. I haven't gotten Baldur's Gate 3 for the same reason. And yes, I know that there's going to be a physical version next year in Japan that I could buy through PlayAsia, but yeah. Did you finish Warrior Season 3? No, I haven't started it yet. Seventh, if they did a sequel to Adventures in Game Chasing, would you do it? Sure. They also have a different project that's a film project that I can't talk about. I don't know that I'll have any kind of on-camera role in it, but I am helping out with the script. They're not actually writing the script. Rob is writing the script, and so I'm like, he's asked me to help him out once it gets to a certain point. So I'm going to help him out with that. Yeah, I don't really know what Baron does nowadays. I don't watch him. Seventh, are Alex's farts stronger than your magic power? Well, that depends on what I've ate. She eats dry dog food. That's it. We don't let her eat scraps off our plates or any of that stuff. She has dry dog food, and that's all she gets. No, I haven't beat Spider-Man 2 yet. And no, there wouldn't be a DBTS of it because Spider-Man 2 is not a bad game. I just don't care for it. Just because I don't care for a game doesn't make it bad. It's just not necessarily my type of game. I can look at a game and appreciate it for what it is without being a fan of it. If I do a DBTS, it's because I literally think it's a piece of crap. And not just because I personally don't care for it. I have valid reasons as to why it's a piece of crap. I've more than watched Alpha Omega Sin. I've hung out with Alpha Omega Sin on more than one occasion. He's a good dude. He's a little dude, though. Comes up to about right here on me. He's like 5'4" or something. 5'3", 5'4". He's a little dude. I know about a lot of the things that the Bible says, Shadow. Not everything, but a lot of it. Can you tell us the name of the film at least? It doesn't have a name right now. Well, we've got like begging strips, the little fake bacon things that will give her a little piece of it if she's done something good that she was supposed to do or whatever. Do you think Alpha Omega Sin has a bigger gaming collection than you? I don't know. I haven't seen his collection in a long time in videos, so I don't know. He may have sold some of it off. I don't know. I know it used to be bigger than mine. He used to have somewhere around 5,000 games, and I'm sitting at like 2,300. So, yeah. But, he doesn't make videos regularly anymore, and he hasn't done a game room tour in a long time. Thoughts on Lord of the Fallen? It's a Souls-like. I don't play those. Man, if there's something guaranteed that you guys will forget every 7 days, it's that I don't play stealth games and I don't play Souls-likes. Y'all forget it every 7 days. It's astounding. Seventh, what can we do to play a game where the license expired and they don't have a copy of it physically, but it has the original Xbox and 360? I don't know. For me, if I can't find the game for sale on the digital store, I go and I buy a physical copy of the original if I have to go on eBay to get it. Do you like your steak marinated? It depends on what you're talking about. If it's like a T-bone, no. If it's a filet mignon, yes. It just depends on the cut of meat. And if I'm doing like steak fajitas, then definitely yes. I've watched bits and pieces of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I wouldn't call myself a fan. Their most recent movie was pretty funny. I watched it with 8th because he is a fan. And it was pretty funny. If I had a favorite character, it'd probably be Meatwad. Yeah, she don't get chicken, she don't get eggs, she just gets dried dog food and occasionally a little piece of a bacon strip. And on the rare occasion that I might eat a more sugary fruit like a banana, I might pinch off just a tiny little piece of it, just enough for her to get a taste of it, and that's it. Do you think Night of the Living Dead is overrated? Kinda, yeah. For me, it's kind of a boring movie. There's not a lot of blood and gore in it. It's just slow. It's more of a social commentary movie framed around a zombie film. Thoughts on the Lollipop Chainsaw remake? Personally, I think we should get a sequel to that. Well, I don't have a problem with that being remastered because there were a lot of folks that skipped it in the generation that it came out in. And that was 2 generations ago, so I don't have a problem with that. Thoughts on Maximo Ghost of Glory? I think it's decent as a 3D Ghosts and Goblins. I think I actually liked the second one better than the first one. Unfortunately, I currently don't own the second one. I only own the first one. And once again, thanks to everybody who donated last week. I appreciated it. That was very nice of y'all. Yes, it was. Well, Shadow, Night of the Living Dead was made back in the 60s, and it's extremely tame compared to, modern stuff. I mean, sure, I can appreciate for what it was at the time it came out, but I watch it now as an adult, and I'm just kind of... Same thing with the original Psycho. I can appreciate Psycho for what it was, but I try to watch it now, and I'm... Name some of your favorite Xbox exclusives. I like the Fable series. I like Forza Horizons. I liked some of their exclusive JRPGs they had on the 360, like Lost Odyssey. That's about it. Do you think Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 is funny? Garbage Day! Yes, it's funny. That series gets really weird later on. Like, the original killer comes back and he's had the top of his skull cut off and he has a glass dome over his brain. That series got dumber and dumber with each sequel. My favorite is the original. But the second one is really funny. Seventh, is it possible if you have to backtrack to older generation consoles to play a game we want again, and we got the trophies on either 360 or PS3, can we sync them over? Well, if it's if like they made a remaster of it on PS4, it's going to have its own separate trophy set. If you played it on PS3 and you platted it, that plat is still in there, and it'll show up as a different plat from the PS4 or PS5 version. Those trophies are not going to copy over. They'll still be in your trophy score from when you earned them. Now, if you earned a bunch of trophies on your PS3 and you never hooked it up after you earned those one last time, yes, you can hook it up to the internet and sync those trophies, but depending on how many of them are on there, it could take hours. Yes, I've played Ori. Have you and 8th ever gone fishing? No. That was a me and Dad thing, and I only did it because Dad liked it. I don't like fishing, and 8th wouldn't have any interest in it either. So, there'd be no reason for me to take 8th fishing. Where do you think they went wrong with The Last of Us TV show? Making a TV show about The Last of Us. If I don't like the story in the game, I'm not going to like it on the show either. What would an ideal new God of War game be in your opinion? What setting? The Egyptian gods. I like to see him take on the Egyptian gods. That's what I'd want to see next. Because guaranteed, you're never going to, or even the Hindu, well, I don't think they'd get away with doing the Indian Hindu gods. They're only going to get away with doing religions that, for the vast majority of people on the planet, nobody practices anymore. No one really worships the Greek gods anymore. No one really, except for maybe a very, very scant few Norwegians, still believe in Thor and all that stuff. You're never going to see them do, even though it would be interesting, you're probably never going to see them do the Hindu gods, or you're never going to see them do like Muhammad or Yahweh or Jesus or anything. You're not going to see that. You're not even going to see like, Samson or whatnot, Gilgamesh or any of that stuff. You're not going to see any of that. Well, you might see Gilgamesh because that's tied to the old Sumerian story, so you might be able to see that. But any religion that's still widely practiced, you're not going to see them take that on. Who's a better cook, you or 8th? Me. 8th only knows how to microwave. Well, he can fry eggs. That's about it. Did the hardcore style of wrestling that ECW popularized in North America do more harm than good? Yes. It made everything about spots instead of telling a story. And it's passed over to WWE. When you watch modern WWE, they care more about getting a quick pop for a spot than telling a psychological story in the ring. And that's part of the whole problem. Zeus versus Anubis. Do you think Kratos will lose his strength as he gets older? I don't know. Do you think we'll see the Celtic gods in God of War? I don't know, because they're not as well known in popular culture as like the Norwegian gods or even the Egyptian gods. So I kind of doubt it. Because people would be like, who is this? Who is this supposed to be? Which do you prefer, pancakes, waffles, or French toast? I'm not a big fan of pancakes, but I do like waffles and French toast. 7th, are you going to see that upcoming Thanksgiving horror movie? I don't think I'm familiar with it. The only Thanksgiving horror movie I know anything about is Thanksgiving, which is the one with the demon-possessed turkey that's like a Muppet. That's the only Thanksgiving horror movie I know anything about. I hope Atreus isn't the new god of. Yeah, if they transition to games about Atreus, even a spin-off game, I have zero interest in playing it. What are your thoughts on Korn? They have a couple of songs I like, and that's it. Not a big fan of Korn. Not a big fan of Slipknot either. Not my not my thing, man. Not my thing. From Nick Neal, Korn is my favorite band. Well, my favorite band is Descendants. Descendants, you know. Descendants. Ever watch Man's Best Friend? I can't remember. Man's Best Friend. I don't remember what that is. So I can't tell you if I've seen it or not. Already starting to have neck problems tonight. That's not good. Not even an hour in, I'm already starting to get neck pain. That's not good. I got Descendants and all on this arm, and then I've got Descendants and all on this arm, and then I've got Voodoo Skulls on this arm. In case anyone was still curious. What's your top 3 console revisions? PS2 Slim, PS3 Super Slim, and those are really the only two I care about, to be honest with you. Man's Best Friend, 1993, Lance Henriksen. Isn't that like a dog that's like a science experiment or some crap? Yeah, I've seen that. I think it's based on a Dean Koontz book. Magic powers. What's your choice of sandwich at Subway's? Italian meatball. Sometimes I like the grilled chicken, but mainly Italian meatball. Could it be the chair? Maybe. Mayan gods and God of War? That would be interesting, but I don't know. I think they would go with something more known, like the Egyptian pantheon. No, I'm not familiar with Pete Holmes. Thoughts on THQ Nordic? Not a whole lot. I mean, most of the stuff they put out nowadays is AA at best. I mean, I really enjoyed their re-release of Kingdoms of Amalur. Favorite 80s teen movie? Ferris Bueller. They stopped selling the oven roasted chicken, unfortunately. Well, that sucks. I used to like to go to Quiznos and get their roasted chicken sandwich. It was really good. 7th, I have to say the weirdest 80s movie I ever saw was Earth Girls Are Easy. Yeah, I've seen it. I didn't think it was weird. I just thought it was dumb. I thought it was a stupid movie. I don't think I even finished it. I got maybe 30 minutes into it, and I'm like, this is really stupid, and I turned it off. Thoughts on Weird Science? I love Weird Science. Bill Paxton is classic in Weird Science. What were your thoughts on the Bayonetta issue that happened last year with the original voice actress? I didn't care. I'm not that big a fan of that series to begin with. And, she just sounded like your typical mid-30s British voice actress, so not exactly a hard thing to replace. So I didn't care. I mean, I thought it was kind of shitty, but, in the greater scheme of things, it didn't really affect me, so I didn't care. Why is Vishnu compared to Jesus? I don't really know. Why are we asking all these religious questions all of a sudden? You see what you started, Ultra Steel? I'm not overly familiar with the Hindu faith. I vaguely remember reading something that they were also a deity that was based around sacrifice, but I don't think it was the same thing as far as Christ's sacrifice. But I couldn't tell you for sure because I don't study Hindu religions. Why do you keep asking about the masked girl? I don't even know what you're referencing. Did you like the movie 2012? I liked pieces of it. There were pieces of it that I thought were fun. What is up with the third game in hack and slash franchises and being a disappointment? Ninja Gaiden 3, Kingdom Hearts 3, No More Heroes 3, Bayonetta 3. But God of War 3 was excellent. Devil May Cry 3 was good. So it's not always the case. Plus, I don't consider Kingdom Hearts a hack and slash per se. It's more of a Japanese action RPG. Because it's got summons and stuff, The summons are stupid, but it has summons. That being said, I was not a fan of Kingdom Hearts 3 either. But the main reason I wasn't was because it had far less of classic Disney movies or hand-drawn Disney movies, and it was all about their Pixar crap, mostly. And I just didn't like that, Did you like Independence Day? I liked the movie fine, didn't care for the game at all. The game was garbage. But the movie was fun. It's stupid, but it's fun. Yeah, let me hack into an alien computer network with an Apple PowerBook. Oh my. By the way, did you notice that Star Wars The Phantom Menace stole a plot point from Independence Day where you blow up the mothership and it cripples everything, all the little other stuff? They blow up the mothership in Independence Day, and all of the alien ships down on the planet crash. They blow up the mothership in Phantom Menace, and all the little soldier bots just fall over. Man, I'm not holding my audience tonight. People getting bored fast. Drop down to 18 viewers. Look at that. That's bad. May have to start skipping weekends again so y'all actually care when I show up. Would certainly mean more gameplay time on the weekends than I currently get. Fury lost. I don't know what you're referring to. Are you just going to start throwing out random fictional names now? Gomer Pyle? Forrest Gump? What are you going to do for Halloween? Probably not much. Sit around and play a game, something like that. That'd be about the extent of it. I don't watch boxing. I don't watch boxing. Seventh, when did you and Eighth stop trick-or-treating? He was around 12 or 13, somewhere around in there. I was about the same age. I think I stopped at like 13. You just lose interest in it. You get to the point where I'd rather stay home and watch horror movies than, go out and get candy where only 25% of it is candy I actually like to eat, kind of thing. Did you know anyone that actually believed the world was going to end in 2012? No. I didn't know a single person that bought into that crap. Not a one. I didn't believe in Y2K either. The company I was working for at the time certainly did. They did a bunch of updating prior to Y2K. But, I never worried about it. Next week you should live stream a game. Every time I live stream a game, nobody watches. I get like 12 viewers. Fury is the boxing champion. Well, that's another thing that I've mentioned repeatedly that you guys seem to forget. I don't watch sports. I'm not kidding you when I say these things. I don't play stealth games. I don't play Souls-likes. And I don't watch sports. And I don't like talking about politics or religion on the cast. I should get guests on. The guest thing... I would guest on somebody else's show, but I'm not going to bring guests on here. You bring guests on to boost the numbers and popularity of a guest. I don't have the audience for that. I'm not helping anybody by having them on my show. But there are people out there that have a show where if I showed up, more people might show up just to see what, if I'm going to get into an argument with them or something. Which I wouldn't, but... I do some SQL coding at my job. Yes, Zach. End of the world was predicted. Yes, the end of the world was predicted in the Bible. There will be wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes in various places and signs in the sky and and what do we have going on? Well, we have the Ukraine conflict, we have the Israel conflict, and the Bible says all eyes will turn to Israel and all nations will turn against Israel. Uh, we've had an eclipse recently. We've had earthquakes. We've had floods. Fun, fun, fun. Make you wonder, huh? What do you play? I play guitar. How much did you like the Beastie Boys growing up? I liked the License to Ill album, and then I didn't really get into them again until Ill Communication came out. Seventh, what's the worst job you ever had? Pizza Hut chef. The old game reviews you used to do were great. Any reviews coming in the near future? We'll see. Maybe. Maybe. We'll see. The hard thing about doing game reviews, Juggernauts, is that people only care about reviews within the first week of a game coming out. I don't get review copies, and I don't have the money to buy every new game that comes out. So by the time I can get it, like if I was to do a review of Diablo 4 right now, nobody would watch it. But if I had been able to post a review within the first 5 days of it coming out, it would get views. But if I posted one now, no one's going to watch it. Eighth can handle spicy food better than I do. Eighth puts spicy sauce on just about everything that he eats. Sometimes I catch myself rewatching your Hannah Montana and Final Fantasy 13 reviews. I want that new RoboCop game. I just ain't going to have the money to get it because I'm, spending my money on Christmas gifts. Like, the $85 that I made last week, that all went towards Christmas, games for 8th. That and that I will eventually be able to review if you guys are interested in any of it. But that's what it went towards. Yes, I hated being a Pizza Hut chef because the job sucked. All the free pizza in the world wasn't going to change the fact that it was a miserable, thankless job. Thoughts on the 24-hour boss? I don't know anything about a 24-hour boss in Final Fantasy 12. There's a 24-hour boss in Final Fantasy 11, but I don't know about one in 12. Favorite Italian mobster movies? Goodfellas. Godfather Part 2. That's about it. Why didn't you like the Robot Chicken Star Wars special? I'm just not a big fan of Robot Chicken in general. It's just not really my thing. There are little tiny clips of it that people will send me every now and again that I think are funny, but sitting down and watching a whole episode, no. Now, I did watch South Park Into the Panderverse yesterday. That was funny. Man, they really raked Disney over the coals, too. Seventh, Casino versus Goodfellas versus The Godfather. I like Casino and Goodfellas more than The Godfather, and between those two, I like Goodfellas the best. Seventh, do you think Chuck E. Cheese can't go back to being relevant again thanks to everyone having smartphones and playing games at home? Yeah, but you can't really win real-world prizes with those. So, I mean, as long as parents keep taking their little kids to it for birthday parties, I think they can stay solvent. But it's certainly not a fun place for teenagers like it was when I was a kid and it was Showbiz Pizza. Showbiz Pizza, you didn't just see little kids in there, you saw teenagers in there too. Older kids locked you in the deep freeze. Well, at least you didn't walk in and find the morning shift chef beating off into the bread mix. Are you going to watch the Iron Claw movie about the Von Erich family? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, I might. I'm certainly not going to pay to see it. Thoughts on Daily Wire making their own Snow White movie? Couldn't care less. Could not care less. Look, I'm not even a fan of the original Disney animated Snow White. It's a product of its time. And it just doesn't do anything for me. When it comes to animated Disney movies, my favorite era was the 90s, Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast. I didn't like Little Mermaid. Of course, that wasn't 90s. Aladdin, Tarzan. Pretty much the only other animated Disney movies that I liked prior to that would be like the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Robin Hood, and that's about it, really. I'm not a fan of 101. Well, Peter Pan. I like Peter Pan. I'm not a fan of 101 Dalmatians or the Aristocats or Bambi. Certainly not Snow White. Can't stand Pinocchio. I like this stuff from the 90s. I do like, however, The Black Cauldron. I know most people don't, but I really like it. Treasure Planet, Lilo and Stitch. Thoughts on Make Mine Music and Melody Time? I had them on DVD when 8th was little, but I don't have those DVDs anymore. Yes, we walked in one morning at Pizza Hut, and our early shift guy, the guy that was supposed to make all the dough for the pizzas we were going to be making that day, was standing there with his pants around his ankles, beating off into the bread mixer. True story. Yes, I like Meet the Robinsons. I like the first Saw film. That's about it. Oh, that's right. I was going to tell you the story that went semi-viral on Twitter. 34,000 views, 290 likes. Might be even more now. I don't know. No, I wasn't a big fan of 1940s Pinocchio. I thought the animation on the attack, the Monstro attack, was cool, but that was about it. Let's see where it's at right now. If I can, let's see. It's currently sitting. Why is it not showing me the number of views now all of a sudden? It's not wanting to show me the views. It's currently sitting at 36,600 views and 290 likes. Oh. Why did it do that? 2 hours left. There have been 0 donations. No, we did not sell those pizzas. We made fresh dough. That was not a fun day. Because we're supposed to walk in there and all the dough we're going to use that day is already waiting on us. That didn't happen. So, here's the story. Basically, some guy posted a video on Twitter of some little girl at SeaWorld or whatever, and a beluga whale comes swimming up behind her, waits for her to turn around, and then opens its mouth real wide at her and scares the piss out of her. So I shared a story of my first encounter with a beluga whale, which was 18 years ago at SeaWorld in Orlando. And so here, there was just like with all the others, there was an area where you could go down under the stands or whatever and have a fully underwater view of the whales in the tank. And at the time, 8th was a toddler. He was in a stroller, right? And I don't get paid for views on Twitter, no. So 8th was making noises, and we were standing there in front of the tank. I turned around to see what was up with it. This lady next to me gasps. Like, oh! I look at her, and she has this disgusted look on her face, and she's looking towards the tank. I turn around, and right in front of me is this beluga whale that has risen up from down deeper in the tank and has its dick out right in front of me, and it has this plastic thing stuck on the end of it that looks kind of like a traffic cone, and it starts humping this traffic cone against the glass in front of me for like a good 4 or 5 seconds. And then from the vertical position, it backs away and turns more into a horizontal position and looks me dead in the eye. Like it's just, like, my house, and then swims away. That's the whole story. This whale wanted to make sure that I saw it humping a traffic cone. I don't know why. I don't know if it was, threatening to violate me or what the deal was. Asserting its male dominance? I don't know. It's one of the most surreal things that's ever happened to me in my life. But that's not even the crazy part. I didn't post this on Twitter. That was only one of 2 times that happened to me. A couple of years later, we went back there. And the same thing happened to me again. Only instead of a beluga whale, it was a walrus. I was standing next to the tank. Had 8th with me. 8th was looking at the little animals. Up from the bottom side of the tank swims this big walrus. And he's holding this plastic thing with his fins. And that big old dick was sticking out. And it was humping that thing. Second time it happened to me. And once again, once it got done, it swam forward and then just kind of looked at me and then swam away. It happened to me twice in my life from 2 different species. I don't know if it's a glitch in the Matrix or what. I don't know. I don't know. Seventh, if you could have a name for your fans, what would you call us? Seventhites, Seventh Uppers, Seventhers. Friends, I guess. Don't you get paid for views? Not on YouTube. I get AdSense, but I was referring to I wasn't referring to a video I made. I was referring to a tweet I made telling this beluga whale story. 34,000 views and 290 likes. I don't get paid for views on Twitter. I have AdSense on YouTube, but since I only get, a few hundred views, you're talking about like 5 cents a video. I'm not exactly making a lot of money off ads, folks. No, he didn't get criminally charged. He got fired. Gotta remember, this was the early 90s. That was the whale's way of telling you that if you mess around, it'll make you the traffic cone. Yeah, I kind of got that impression, Chris. No, I've never had an odd experience with dolphins. No, deja vu is when you see something and it feels familiar to you, like you've experienced it before, but you don't have an actual memory of experiencing it before. This was the exact same thing, but with 2 different species happening to me twice. That's not deja vu. I bet Kanye West would have wanted to be there since he likes fish sticks. Anyway, it was really bizarre. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just glad that my dad wasn't alive to see it, because he never would have let me live it down. He would have trolled me over that for the rest of my life. Because I know my dad. He would have, nicknamed me Shamu's bottom bitch or something. That's what my dad was like. It's where I get a lot of my humor and my trollishness from, is from my old man. He was a clown. I mean, my dad was the kind of guy where he'd be lying in bed with my mom, and he'd yank the blanket over her head and then fart and fan his side of the blanket like this so it'd blow it right in her face, and she'd be like, let me out, it stinks. That was my dad. Is this the time, and going into next year, that getting a PS5 would be worth it? I'd wait to see what they're going to do with the Pro first. Wait to see what they announce with the Pro. If they don't announce anything by summer of next year, go ahead and buy one. If you could have a terrible game remade just for silly ha-ha reasons, what would it be? Huh. I don't know, something like a 3D Booger Man or something like that. Something along them lines. Yeah. Something along them lines. Ugh. I don't need your business, sir. I got another guy offering me 10 grand. If you've watched the Panderverse, you'll know what I'm referencing there. I got no interest in Steam Deck. None. 8th is like vaguely interested in having one, but I have no need for one. None. None whatsoever. No. No, no, no. Don't care. Because I spend a lot of time in my recliner anyway. So I got a 70-inch TV right in front of me. What do I need with this? I don't play on Steam. I already got something that plays emulators. What do I need to spend that kind of money for it? I have no reason to own it. Oh, my neck, my neck, my neck. Not fun. 7th, have you ever seen any funny slapstick moments in everyday life? Yeah, I had one happen to me once. On my first date with 8th's mom. And I've told this story before, but maybe you didn't see it. We went and did a whole bunch of things that day. We went to the 5 Points shopping district in Jacksonville and went to all the little weird boutiques. And we went to see a movie. And we went to get something to eat. And the last thing that we did, like almost at sunset, was we went to this mini golf course. And there was it wasn't a very big one, and there was a bunch of businesses around it, so it had these big nets everywhere to keep you from knocking balls into other businesses in the parking lot and whatnot. And so, I'm being stupid, and I'm just, trying to make her laugh, and I'm like, get a load of this. And I take my ball and I set it down, and I rear back Happy Gilmore style, and I pop that thing with all my strength, and instead of sending it flying, it sent it straight forward, and it hit this little wooden ledge that outlined the course, bounced off of that, hit a tree, bounced off of that, and hit me right in the mouth and busted my lip wide open. And I'm like, son of a bitch! And she starts laughing. And I got blood pouring down like this. And I'm like, oh, son of a bitch! And we go walking in, and I'm in the bathroom, and I'm washing it up, and I'm keeping a cold thing on it until the bleeding stops, and I come out, and my lip is like this. And she was like, you look so hilarious. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you. And she just starts laughing more. And she was like, I know. Let's go to the photo booth. And I'm like, are you serious? And she's like, yes. So there, for a long time, I had this picture of us in a photo booth, and she's got her head leaning against my shoulder with this big, crap-eating grin. And I'm sitting there, with my head shaved, and I still wore an earring back then, and a lot thinner than I am now, and I'm in a black leather jacket, and I'm just kind of, giving a Jack Nicholson type, stare down grin, but my lip is all swollen up like this. Took a few days for the swelling to go down too. Yeah, I don't know, Chris. That was me hitting the hearts. Okay. If you could have a dream team of two comedians as a comedy duo in a movie, what time period would the film be set in, and who are the comedians? Prohibition era New York, Lenny Bruce and George Carlin. Playing bootleggers. I liked the first two Home Alone films, Shadow. I didn't like the third one or anything that came after those. Well, at least nothing happened to you long term, minus the embarrassment from the wife. Yeah. 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 But that's all right, because I got to laugh back at her not too long after that. She was over at my apartment, and this was in Florida, and I was on the second floor, and I had a private balcony that had a sliding glass door, and she was going to go out on the balcony and have a cigarette. Hello, 8th. Mm. Getting pupper? Mm-hmm. Okay. Bye-bye, pupper. Bye-bye, 8th. Ladies and gentlemen, 8th. So anyway, she goes outside to smoke a cigarette, or she opens the sliding glass door to smoke a cigarette, and a little gecko comes crawling in onto the glass. And she kind of freaks out, and she closes the glass door, and she goes into my kitchen, and she gets a big plastic bowl, and her plan is to trap it underneath the bowl and then slide the bowl along the wall onto the glass, open up the glass, and kind of just go and try to throw it out on the porch and then close it real quick, the balcony. Instead, she starts to get real close to it with this bowl, and it leaps off the wall onto her shoulder, and she screams bloody murder and faints and falls flat on her back in my living room. She almost hit my coffee table. And the lizard goes running back out the door that she didn't get closed all the way. And so she's just laying there. And, she's only out for a couple of seconds. And I just start pointing and laughing at her. I'm amazed it got past that date. But it did. When's the last time you went on a date? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really do dates anymore. It's like I told you, it's more of a kind of a friends with benefits type of thing. And even then, that's not it's not like a daily thing or anything like that. But there's a kerfluffle going on about the PS5 Slim's optional drive. Do you know anything you have to have it connected to the internet to install the drive. This digital-only console that you can only put games on it by downloading them off the internet. People are upset that you have to have it connected to the internet to install the optional drive. Now you tell me how much sense that makes, getting upset about that. Which Metroidvania, Castlevania game was your least favorite? I don't know. It was one of the ones on the DS. Can't remember which one now. What's one advice you would give this young generation that's missing and needed? Nobody gets a free ride aside from kids that were born to wealthy parents. Kids nowadays, they want stuff handed to them without working for it. They're like, you guys were stupid. You didn't complain about working 40 hours a week. We're going to complain and we're going to change the world, make it where no one has to work more than 20 hours a week, but get the same pay that you've been making for 40. Good luck. Good luck. Just because there's a few countries across the pond that have a 30-hour work week, it doesn't mean you're going to get one. And a lot of them don't make what I make. But good luck to you. It's like the idea of a work ethic doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. It's like they think that employers just exist to pay for all their stuff. They're entitled to money. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. If anything, that's the type of mentality that ensures your job that you went and got a degree for is going to be one of the first that gets replaced by AI more than anything else. My mom is also terrified of lizards. I had to deal with a baby when she found in the bathroom, wasn't scared of it, and actually ended up grabbing it and releasing it outside. Yeah, lizards don't bother me either. Now, snakes, depending on the type of snake it is, I'm not terrified of them, but I'm cautious. I'm not likely, if I found a rattler, for example, in the house, I wouldn't be all that keen on, well, let's get it released back out in the wild, the poor thing. No, I'd go to the garage, grab a shovel, and bash its brains in with a shovel. That's how I would deal with a rattler. I've done it before, not with rattlers, but with copperheads. I lived in the basement of a house in Tennessee, and occasionally one would get into the garage, and I'd grab a shovel with a 6 foot handle, and I'd smack it not 6 foot, like 5 foot, and I'd smack it in the head with the shovel from a safe distance and bash its brains out. I've had to do it a few times. Mostly I'm a live and let live kind of guy, but when it comes to something that could potentially kill me, I'm not taking any chances. I'm bashing its brains out. Oh, well, you see, after I bash their brains out, then I turn the shovel sideways and I cut their head off. Then I take a broom and I sweep the body into a garbage bag, tie the garbage bag, and throw it in the trash. That's how I handled snakes. I don't have a problem with non-venomous snakes, no. Usually with those, I'll grab a broom and just kind of shoo it out of the house. But if it's a breed that I know is poisonous, I'm not taking any chances. It's him or me, baby. Yeah, as more and more jobs start to get automated and more people start gravitating towards office jobs, you're going to start seeing skilled trades like master electrician, plumber, that kind of thing. The salaries are going to start going up because fewer people are signing up for them. I have a friend who doesn't have a college degree who went to a trade school and to learn to be an electrician, and now he's making more money than I do. He's in the 6 figures. Is what it is. It is what it is, folks. Do. Certainly. Ugh. My neck. My neck. I love combing my hair back instead of hanging off the sides, because then I can make it look like a mullet, so I can have the more official redneck look. Because if I hang it off the sides, I just look like, if I pull it like straight down the sides like this, part it down the middle and bring it down the sides, I look more like a metalhead. But I think it's funny to pin it behind my ears, so I just have like this, and comb the top back, so I have this kind of epic mullet going on. If I ever get bored with this and I decide to shave it all off again and go back to the classic 7th look, I think first what I'll do is I'll shave the top off and take a picture of myself with a skullet just so I can put it on my Facebook as a joke or post it on Twitter or whatever. Maybe I'll even do a 7thCast that way. I'll just shave the top off so I have a nice top bald skullet going on. I think that'd be hilarious. The new generation doesn't want to work. They want a next day paycheck. Yeah, a lot of them, they're getting taught that in college, man. They're taught to be socialists, and they want that guaranteed universal income bull crap that ain't gonna work. So they could just get paid to sit and do what they want to do all day. Man, you're in dreamland. Your parents didn't prepare you for life, and your college professors sure didn't. And that's part of the reason why you have this sudden, mental health crisis where everybody's going to therapy and everyone's putting themselves on drugs and, big pharma's making, billions off of it. It's because they weren't prepared. And so they get out in the real world, find out what the real world's really like, and they can't handle it because they weren't prepared to handle it by their parents or their teachers. I got out in the real world and had no stress from it for me. I was ready to do a job. I was ready for it. I was like, let me go to work. Give me 40 hours. None of this part-time crap. I want full-time. And I'd work full-time, straight out of high school, work full-time. And, living in my parents' basement. I ain't got no bills. And so, I was making full-time work. Anything I wanted to do, I had the money to go do it. Anything I wanted to buy, I had the money to go buy it. And then eventually, because of the promise I made, when my grandmother passed away, I moved out, got an apartment. I had a nicer paying job then. Never any issues. I've never been on any kind of mood-altering drugs. I've never had to take any kind of antidepressants or anything like that. Never had to go to therapy. Nothing. I just do my thing. Built to last, this one right here. You can hit me with all sorts of crippling, emotionally destroying stuff, and I just keep on chugging, man. I just keep on chugging. Because I know that life is just a roller coaster, and you got hills where you're going up and everything's great, and then you got to go down the other side of that hill and hit the bottom. And eventually you have to get off. You have to get off at the end of the track. That's life. So when something negative hits me, I just live through it because I know eventually there'll be something good on the other side of it. It is what it is, folks. And your parents and your teachers either raised you to be prepared for that or they did not. And people don't want to learn how to compartmentalize that, how to process it internally, how to deal with those kind of things. They don't want to learn it once they're adults. And so they try to bury it with prescriptions. They go to a shrink. Shrink tells them, well, you have this, 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 and this. And that means you need to be on this, 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 and this, which 9 times out of 10 makes the whole situation worse. And that's also why you've got a higher suicide rate than you used to have. It's terrible. That's one of the real, you want to talk about epidemics, that's one of the real epidemics going on in this country, is the reliance on stuff like that. And how, 75% of the kids in school nowadays have ADHD. Come on. Come on. You're not telling me. It's not that it's a more prevalent condition. It's become an easy way to explain the behavior of certain kids. And certain kids have come to see having some kind of a condition as a way to get attention. You know, oh, well, I have Tourette's, or I have ADHD, or I have this, or I have that. And they've been conditioned to think that you know, that's a way to get attention and a way to feel special. But, you know, if every kid out there has ADHD, it's not special. And it's not even a condition at that point. It's the norm. It's the norm. And what does a lot of it really boil down to? Parents that just have let their kids get away with everything, so then they send them to school and they're the spawn of Satan. Now, I'm not one of these spare the rod, spoil the child people. You know, I never spanked 8th. But I did parent 8th. To understand the value of $1, to understand the value of a good day's work, taking pride in what you do, responsibility, right and wrong, general morals, how to conduct yourself, how to act in public. These are things you teach as parents. It's not getting done anymore. Oh, they have to feel free to express themselves. Pitching a fit when they're 12 years old like they're a toddler is not free to express themselves. That's a kid that hasn't been taught how to conduct themselves and how to act. Has nothing to do with their freedom. It's about teaching them to be a decent human being. Let's see here. What game had horrible music? Hyde lied. Opinion on the 70s cartoon Frady Cat. Don't think I ever watched it. How'd you learn SQL? I had to take a class on Udemy for my new position. Has Jack Move Johnny ever found a job? Not that I know of. 7th, if you could make a troll video game, what king of trolling would you do? Can you imagine how fun an El Presador video game would be? I have no idea what genre it would be in, but it would be hilarious regardless. Seventh, what's your astrology sign? I'm a Sagittarius. Not that I believe in that BS, but that's what I am. Don't even really know what that means as far as what kind of person I'm supposed to be because of that. Ugh. Never put a whole lot of faith in astrology. That you can know what's going to happen to you because of where light from a giant ball of burning gas billions of light years away is, where it used to be, millions of years ago, as opposed to where it actually is now, because it takes the light that long to get to us. Come on. Come on. Today, you're going to be struck with a hardship. Yeah, it's called work. How come you never get Today, you're going to take a 3-foot long dump, and that's going to cause you to be late for work. And when you get to work, you're going to rush to get your morning coffee, and you're going to drop the coffee pot on your foot and end up in the ER. You never get that, do you? No. You will experience hardship today. It's a bunch of garbage, man. It's pure garbage. Like I've talked about that Wiccan that I dated for 6 months. Her and her girlfriend. She was into horoscopes. Do I believe in tough love? In certain situations, yeah. You have fortune cookie. Fortune cookies aren't even Chinese. They were an American invention. So they're BS too. If there's two things that's really ruined this newest generation, it's becoming addicted to attention via social media, and our educational system has failed them. Hi, video game lover. You know, I have fun on Twitter. I have fun on YouTube. I'm not addicted to either one. I could go 6 months without posting a video on here. You guys know I could. I'm not addicted to this at all. Even at the peak, you know, when I was doing the Trey Brotherhood thing, and then a couple of years after that, when I was getting, you know, thousands and thousands of views per video, I wasn't addicted to it. But these kids, they've been raised to gauge their entire self-worth over how many followers they have and how many views they get. And it's sad. It's really sad. And then they go to school and, you know, they're taught that, you know, unless you have some mental condition, or you have some physical condition, or you're a minority, that, you know, there's something wrong with you because you don't have any of that. It's insane. It's absolute insanity. So it's no wonder that so many of these kids are ending up in therapy and on drugs. Has nothing to do with online bullying. It has to do with the way they're being raised and the way they're being taught. Something that you earned is always going to mean more to you than something that was just given to you. Always. You know, my dad bought me my first car. I hated it. I didn't care about it. I didn't keep it up. But I was so proud of that first car that I went out and bought with my own money. And every car that I've bought since then. Yes, Ultra Steel, I've heard that before. Matthew Perry died today? I know he had a lot of health problems from drug addiction and whatnot. Richard Mall died too. The guy that was Bull on Night Court, he died a day or two ago. And Paulie from the Rocky movies, he died. So, they say celebrities always die in threes. Well, there you go. There you go. Now the cycle will start over. Matthew Perry wasn't even that old, was he? He was like in his 50s, maybe? I know he had a lot of chronic health problems due to his past drug addictions. But, I hadn't read or heard anything about it. Must have just got recently announced. I don't know. He drowned? What, he fall asleep in his jacuzzi or something? Maybe he was sitting out in his jacuzzi drinking and popping pills and fell asleep and drowned in his sleep. Something of that nature. I mean, that's how Whitney Houston died. She drowned in her bathtub. Stoned out of her mind, fell asleep, and drowned in her bathtub. Did you like the Rush Hour films? I thought the first one was okay. The second and third one felt completely unnecessary. That's a shame, dying that young. But, Hollywood lifestyle. I mean, I don't know what kind of life... technically, he didn't have to work. He'd never have to work another day in his life because of the residuals he was still making off of Friends. But, you live that kind of life, it eventually catches up to you. Have you ever tried somas? No, I've never taken drugs like that. Closest I've ever come to anything like that was when I was in my car accident and they put me on a generic form of Darvocet called propoxyphene. That's the closest I ever came to that. And of course, they only allowed me to be on it for like a week or two until my arm healed. And then they took me off of it to prevent me from getting addicted to it. Oh, you're talking about the game. I thought you were talking about the pill, Somas. Yes, I've played the game. Yes, I like the John Wick movies. I mean, let's face it, when it comes to Whitney Houston, her husband ruined her. Because she wasn't into all that crap until she started hanging out with him. He's the one that introduced her to that stuff and got her hooked on that crap. It's a horror game, Ultra Steel. I'm not sure what you're fishing for there. It's a horror game. Don't have as big of an audience tonight. And nobody's had any questions about Trey for Life, so that kind of explains the low views. No, I didn't care for the Bourne Identity films. Too much shaky cam. Made it hard to watch. Way too much shaky cam. Yep. Do you like walking simulators? Not especially, no. I've played a few of them that at least had interesting stories, like, Edith Finch, and there was a couple other ones. But most of them are crap. No Ultra Steel because I'm old and I've read too many things that Soma was inspired by. So, it wasn't really anything special to me because I'd kind of already experienced it all. Why did the Tray for Life videos go from 17 minutes to over 45 minutes? There was only 2 videos that went that long. And both of them were because there was a lot of material to get through. The Tray Civil War was a long story to have to explain. It wasn't something I was going to be able to explain from start to finish in 15 minutes. It was something that went on for months. It started in November and wasn't over until going into the summer of the following year. I'll give you an example, Ultra Steel. As you guys know, I talk with Rob a lot. Rob, who is the cameraman for the Game Chasers and what have you, and helped them make the movie and all that. His channel is Order 42. And he's been watching a bunch of Stephen King horror movies for his channel. And he was talking about, he considered Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, a Stephen King movie because it, at least one of its stories, if not maybe all of them, I'm not sure, but at least one of the stories in it was based on a Stephen King short story. And one of the stories was about a guy who ends up getting his life saved by basically a gargoyle. And the gargoyle tells him, I'll spare your life, but you have to promise to never speak of this event to anyone. And he promises. Well, shortly thereafter, he meets this woman, and he falls in love with her, and they get married, and they have kids. And years later, they're, sitting there together, and he tells her the story of what happened with that gargoyle attack. Well, it turns out she was the gargoyle. And him telling her that story breaks the promise. She turns back into a gargoyle. Their 2 little kids turn into little gargoyle kids, and she kills him and then flies away with the kids. And that's how the story ends. And someone told him, well, that's based on one of the stories from an old Japanese movie called Kwaidan, which is true. It does happen in one of the stories in that movie, which is from 1965. It's an anthology horror film from Japan that was based on a book that was actually written by a white guy claiming to have gathered up a bunch of Japanese folk stories and put them into a book. Some of that's a little questionable, if you get what I'm saying. But I told him, well, it also pays homage to a story that predates all of that, that started out as a French folktale and eventually was adapted by multiple authors, including Washington Irving and some others. And that story was called The Velvet Ribbon. And if you're my age, you might have read that story in grade school. It was about a guy who falls for a girl and marries her, and she has this weird habit of always wearing this black velvet ribbon around her neck. And there's different versions of the story. In one of the stories, every time he asks her to take it off, she tells him, "You wouldn't be happy if I did, so I won't." In other versions, she makes him promise never to ask her to take it off or ever try to take it off himself. Well, same kind of thing. Years and years and years later, they've been married and they're old people now. And finally, uh, he just can't get over the curiosity of it anymore. So he waits till she falls asleep and he walks over and gets a pair of scissors and he cuts the ribbon off. She lurches up in bed and her head comes off of her neck and rolls onto the floor. And as it's rolling away, you know, it says something like, "You broke your promise," or I told you you wouldn't be happy, blah, blah, blah. So even though it's directly lifted from that story from the Japanese movie, it also, that story borrows from the Velvet Ribbon too. So, I brought that up to him and he'd never heard of it. But that's just an example of, I've done a lot of reading and watching a lot of movies. And so when I watch a movie nowadays, without even thinking about it, I'll be like, they pulled that from Dune, they pulled that from The Thing, they pulled that from this, they stole this from that. I can't help it. So I play a game like Soma, and I'm like, they got this from this, they got this from that. I don't know if it's just on my end, 7th, but your audio is gone. Well, my HyperX thing is moving when I talk. I'm seeing my audio bar. Can everybody hear me okay? Or is it just Chris? Let me know if you can hear me. Anybody? Is there anybody else out there besides Chris that's having a hard time hearing me? Let me know. Because I'm showing full audio going out. Okay, so it's just Chris. Okay. I don't know what to tell you, Chris. I guess you just suck, man. I guess you just suck, bro. Have you ever seen Baby Boy with Tyrese? No. I can't take Soma seriously because the whole game you're chased by a Wish version of Big Daddy from BioShock. Yeah. Yeah. I don't really get into the whole video game horror thing as much as other people do, especially the ones that lean more on the walking simulator side of things, like Soma does. Now I know there's gameplay to Soma, but like Soma, Layers of Fear, all that. I don't really get into that stuff too much. No, Juggernauts, they didn't put a curse on me because real Wicca doesn't exist. Wicca, as we know it now, is not some, thousands of years old Celtic thing and all this stuff. It was invented by a guy in Britain named Gardner, claiming that, ancient wise women of the ways and whatnot taught him all this stuff. It's a scam to sell stuff to lonely women. That's all it is. That's all it is. Do you think there will be DLC for Spider-Man 2, or will they go straight into Spider-Man 3? There may be. There may be. I don't know. Don't really care. Hey, Seventh, Sting versus Ric Flair, which has a better woo? Well, Sting didn't have a woo. Sting had more of a guttural scream, like a wah. That's not what he didn't go woo. He did like an actual shout or a yell, whereas Ric Flair would do a woo. Different thing. It was the woo versus the wow. It's getting to be that time of year where my sinuses start acting up a little bit. Yeah. I've just never really been big on horror video games, Farb. I think the closest I ever got to being into a horror game, per se, I like Dead Space. I liked the 7thCast when it came out on PC back in the day. And there was a game, I don't remember the name of it, but it was on PC. And you were having to... it was kind of like playing Ultima Underworld, only there wasn't combat. And you were having to find your way through a pyramid. And there was all sorts of traps and puzzles to solve and stuff like that. I can't remember the name of it, but I really got hooked on that game. And it had, I guess horror-ish elements in it because it had mummies and stuff in it. No, Clean Frame. Wicca is supposed to be the reality that the notion of witches were based on. And Wicca, you can do good things with it, and you can do bad things with it. Supposedly. But the reality of it is that it all, no one ever heard of Wicca or any of that kind of crap until this guy Gardner wrote his book. And then all of a sudden you had all these single women thinking that they could, manipulate, cast spells and stuff. And it's all BS. They're just being flim-flammed into, buying the books and buying the herbs and buying the little crystals and all this crap. It's just another grift. That's all it is. It's a grift. Seventh, what do you make of the random update that Batman Arkham Knight had and then removed the Robert Pattinson Batman suits? Probably some kind of a licensing thing. I didn't like Streets of Rage 3 because I thought the whole kangaroo thing was stupid, and I didn't like the soundtrack in that one. Gameplay was okay. What do you think of the Clementine comic books based on what... I don't read that. I haven't read comic books since like the early 90s. Do you think beat-em-ups were better on the Genesis or the SNES? About the same, really. I like Streets of Rage about the same as I liked Final Fight, They were fine. Streets of Rage 4 was okay. I didn't really like the animation style. I prefer, pixel graphics over what they did, but for what it was, I liked it okay. Not much, Chris. Not much at all. Oh! One hour remaining. There have been 0 donations tonight. 0. Nobody loves me. Seventh, would you consider slot machines at casinos video game? No. Thoughts on Wonder Boy 3? I never really got all that big into the Wonder Boy series. I have Wonder Boy 3. It's a kind of a side-scrolling Zelda 2-ish game. It was okay. I just wasn't that big into it. But I do own it. Thoughts on Comic Zone? Comic Zone was it had an interesting premise. It had good music, had good graphics. Didn't care for the gameplay that much. The enemies were just a little bit too spongy. It's like they focused so much on the gimmick that they didn't focus on on making the combat fun. You know? Wasn't that big a fan. Who do you prefer, Batman or Superman? Batman. I think psychologically he's a more interesting character. There's a lot more nuance with Batman. Welding's hard work, but it pays well, depending on the job. You can make a lot of money that way. Yep. Yep. Oh, I heard that one. Oh, getting old sucks, lads. It sucks. Do you think the first Mummy was scary? When I was a kid, I thought the original with Boris Karloff was scary, but the ones with Brendan Fraser, they're not, or Fraser, they're not scary. They're more just like, Indiana Jones movies with mummies in them. Hello, 7th. I went to Friday Night SmackDown last night in Milwaukee and saw LA Knight. Hubba hubba. Well, I'm glad you had a good time, Rain. I'm glad you had fun. I haven't been to a WWE event since going to see Raw in Charlotte, North Carolina, like in December of 2016. That was the last time I went to a live wrestling event. Do you like Venom and Spider-Man 2? I think it's a cool take on the character, but, I'm also kind of a traditionalist, and I wanted classic Eddie Brock. Did you already talk about Connie leaving Sony? No, because I don't care. And Jaffe's claims of inner turmoil? No, because I don't care. She's been with the company for 34 years. And... he's saying she was fired because of the whole games as a service thing. I don't know, because, who cares? I can tell you one thing. I don't care what games as a service they bring out that are first party. I'm not going to be playing them. Not this old man. No, thank you. Are you familiar with Super Best Friends, The Switcher? No. I love Brendan Fraser movies. He's like the perfect male archetype hero for an action adventure film. Well, I would agree if he had actually been in a lot of action adventure films, but aside from the Mummy series, he didn't really do anything else in that vein. Not unless you count like the whatever squad on HBO, and even then, that's not really an action role because he's just doing the voice, and it's another actor entirely in the suit. I've never seen WWE in person. Is it worth seeing once? I'm not into the current generation of wrestlers, so for me it'd be a no. I will say that I've never been to a live wrestling event where I didn't have fun. Do you think the second Mummy was unnecessary? I liked the second one. It was the third one I didn't like. The last previous live wrestling event I went to was Starrcade 30 years ago. Wow. Wow. Yeah. I never saw a Starrcade, but I did see WCW live in like the very early 90s, like 90 or 91. It was at the UTC Roundhouse in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And the main event was like Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, and Arn Anderson versus Sting and the Road Warriors. So you won't be playing Kill the Justice League? Absolutely not. Journey to the Center of the Earth. That was more of a kid's movie, Ultra Steel. And then he didn't even make it to the sequel. They replaced him with The Rock. Thoughts on Owen Hart's death in the ring? It was completely unnecessary. They shouldn't have been making him do that. You know, if Vince Russo hadn't put him back in his blue blazer gimmick, which was a failed gimmick to begin with, because they couldn't think of anything good to do with one of the best wrestlers in the world at that time, then that wouldn't have happened to him. Just saying. The third one didn't have the original mummy, and it wasn't even really a mummy. It was a resurrected Chinese warlord. It had Jet Li in it. Do you think Benny should have lived at the end of the month? No, he deserved what he got. That's like asking if Alfred Molina should have lived through the opening sequence of Raiders of the Lost Ark. No, he deserved what he got. Watched Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage. It's not as good as Mandy. Cage is trying to be this Jens Bruce Campbell or something. I thought Willy's Wonderland was fun for what it was, and it was actually based on a rejected script for Five Nights at Freddy's. The script that was turned into Willy's Wonderland was written by the guy that does the Five Nights at Freddy's games, and it was rejected, and so it ended up in the hands of other producers, and they turned it into Willy's Wonderland. And also, another one of his failed scripts for Five Nights at Freddy's got turned into the Banana Splits movie. And then finally, on his third try, he got a script made into the movie that's in the theaters now. Do you think Vince McMahon is a bully? Yes. Yes, Hogan was in AWA before WWF. Spider-Man 2 seems like the type of platinum I can do. Yeah, I've heard it's an easy one. Do you think Willem Dafoe could have made a good Joker? Oh, he would have made an excellent Joker. He's a little bit old for it now, but he would have made a great Joker. Although, he was still great as Green Goblin in No Way Home. But, I don't know. I mean, with the right makeup, he probably still could do the Joker. I don't know, Master Millions. I mean, I don't work in any of those industries, so you know, I can't. I wouldn't be speaking from a position of experience. Eighth was telling me that Assassin's Creed was a pretty easy one to get through. I haven't played it either. I didn't say Willy's Wonderland was good. I said Nicolas Cage is funny in it. I didn't say it was good. No, I was never into Yu-Gi-Oh. Never into Yu-Gi-Oh, never into Pokemon or any of that stuff. I was an adult male by the time both of those came out. Who said that Joker 2 is a musical? Practically every article that's been written about it so far. Who else is hyped for the Western release of Earth Defense Force 6? Not at all. Not at all. They all feel like the same game to me. Willem Dafoe is from Milwaukee. Haas and Fever Incorporated. I'm sorry. Happens every time. I can't help it. 7th, who in more deep S word, Kid Behind the Camera or Mick Juggernuggets? What do you mean in deep S word? I don't even know what you're referencing there, Shadow. Did you play Magic the Gathering? Quite a bit. In the late 90s. And then when I moved to Florida, I sold all my cards. Have you heard of the scummy stuff that Warhammer 3 devs are pulling? No. Getting the Tales of Berseria Platinum scarred me for life and damaged my spirit. Did a game's Platinum do that to you? I broke a couple of controllers platting the original Infamous because of that hard mode final boss fight. That's about as close. No, I have no interest in going to the theater to see Napoleon. I know 8th wants to see it, but I don't really have any interest in going to see it. If 8th asks me to take him to see it, I'll go see it. But I'm not a huge fan of 3+ hour historical epics at the theater. I prefer to watch them in the comfort of my own home, so I can pause it in case I have to get up and drop a deuce. You know what I'm saying? Creative Assembly are DMCAing people's YouTube videos after they release crappy DLC. Oh, that does suck. Ultra, why are you arguing with me? I said it was fun for what it was because Nicolas Cage was in it. I said Nicolas Cage was the only redeeming factor of that film. Jesus Christ. Which Final Fantasy game do you think is best? 6. I think 6 was the peak. Which fanboy has tried to attack you the most? Do you mean fanboy in the chat or fanboy on YouTube? Worst Nicolas Cage film? For me, it was that one that he made about the guy who decided to fund his own trip over to the Middle East trying to hunt down Osama bin Laden. It was like semi-based on a true story. That movie was terrible. on YouTube in general. Technically, I think the Black Baron made more videos about me than MLD ever did. And he's also the one that tried hardest by, deciding that he was going to accuse me of being a neo-Nazi or something. All because I preferred North Carolina over Atlanta. Did you retire from movie theaters? For the most part. If it's something I really, really want to see and I don't want to wait for on demand, and 8th has an interest in seeing it, I'll go. Otherwise, I don't go. If I'm the only one that's interested in it, I'm not going to go watch it by myself, I'll only go see it if it's something that 8th also wants to see. I used to do that a lot, though. When I was... before I became a dad, if there was a movie that I wanted to see and whoever I was dating at the time didn't want to see it, then, I'd go see it on a weeknight, go see it by myself. I went to see movies by myself on a weekly basis. I'd save one movie for date night, and then I'd go see whatever else I wanted to see that I knew wouldn't make a good date night movie. Seventh, do you remember Matthew McConaughey's Tusken Raider impression from Texas Chainsaw? Yeah. Yeah, that movie's just weird in general. He got some seriously bad direction in that one. Black Baron was a coward, ducking multiple losses and bets against Bond. True. We won't be seeing any AAA PS5 releases for a long time. It's kind of looking that way. If it's true that they invested 60% of their development money into games as a service. Worst Nicolas Cage movie for me was where he was in World War II with the Native American... Oh, yeah. Wind Talkers, I think it was called. Wind Talkers. I think one of the most boring movies that he made was that one about the violin player, that something's violin or whatever. That one was really boring. Do I want to see Killers of the Flower Moon? I can catch it on demand. I ain't sitting through 3.5 hours of that at a movie theater. No. Did you like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nick Cage and Pascal? It was funny, but it's not a movie that I ever will feel the desire to go back and rewatch. It's like, that's one of those films that once you've seen it, you've seen it. Yeah, somebody mentioned that Matthew Perry drowned earlier. No, I don't want to see the new Scorsese movie. Somebody just asked me about that. Moonstruck with Cher and Cage was... I remember seeing that when I was a teenager, and I didn't hate it, but I think I've only seen it that one time, and I've never had a desire to rewatch it. I've seen Mask a couple of times. It was okay. It was alright. It wasn't like, earth-shattering or anything like that. Oh! My neck popping. But yeah, if you're looking for a good anime and you've got Netflix, you definitely need to watch Pluto. It was fantastic. Had me glued to the screen all morning long. Couldn't turn it off. Couldn't put it down. Yeah, I think, pretty much every time, whenever you see Black Baron in front of a camera, it's a work. Do you think Halloween is overrated? No, no. I mean, it's tame compared to the stuff that modern stuff. It can't hold a candle to Terrifier, for example, as far as like just, I mean, as far as like gore and kills and stuff. I think there's a lot more style to Halloween than Terrifier, and from a directorial standpoint. But it's definitely tame compared to more modern slasher movies. But I think it has earned the status that it has. Worst Halloween movie? Whichever one had the rapper in it. Can't remember his name now. Top 5 Jim Carrey movies. He has 5 good movies. Does he really? I don't know. The first Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber would be in there. Liar Liar is okay, I suppose. I like The Grinch and I like The Mask. There. Do you want to see the third companion World War II miniseries to Band of Brothers from Spielberg and Hanks about the Air Force? Yeah, I'd watch it. I'd watch it. The other stuff was great. The Wicker Man was incredibly funny. My favorite one being when he punches out the woman in the bear suit. That's my, I think that's funnier than the bee scene when he punches the crap out of the woman in the bear suit. How's Eighth been? Working. They just put him on full time at his job. He was getting like between 20 and 30 hours a week, but now they're starting him full time. So, what do you want to see from Insomniac's Wolverine? I want R-rated violence. For me, it needs to hold up to the level of action and violence from X-Men Origins Wolverine, the game. Not so much the movie, but definitely from the game. If you could have any female celebrity in your bed tonight, who would it be? Diane Franklin, circa 1985. Hi, Enemy TV. Watched In the Mouth of Madness. Hits way harder now than it used to. Yeah, I watched it not too long ago. Rewatched it. I still like it. Interesting bit of trivia. What's supposed to be the insane asylum in that movie is actually like an old power plant up in Canada somewhere, I think. And that set has been reused several times, and the most recent one was that Guillermo del Toro movie about the carnival workers and all that. When he goes to meet the rich guy who wants him to communicate with his wife beyond the grave, it's filmed in that same building that was used as the insane asylum in the Mouth of Madness. I recognized it the instant I saw it. There's a lot of sets that get constantly reused. Like there's a mansion up in Beverly Hills somewhere that it gets reused constantly, and you'll always recognize it because they love to shoot in this one long hallway that has these black and white marble tile floor tiles. It was used in Batman. It was used in The Golden Child. It's been used in a ton of movies. and it still gets used to this day. I think it might have also actually been used for a couple of scenes in The Wolf of Wall Street, too. Do you read Sutter Kane? Seventh, maybe it's time to admit that VR isn't your thing. I'm just not in any rush to play it. It's all right when I have played it. Deadwood HBO series is damn near one of the best shows. Just started watching the Billy the Kid series. I haven't watched the Billy the Kid series. Did you like the Deadwood movie that finished up the story, Rain? I thought it was great. But I think one of the most painful, excruciating scenes ever put on film ever was in Deadwood when Swearingen was having to pass a kidney stone. Oh my God. That was brutal to watch. Because I've passed kidney stones and I know what it feels like. And I was feeling that, man. I felt that in my nuggets. Good Lord. Yeah, I liked the Sly Cooper series too. What movie will you watch on Halloween night? Probably Exorcist 3. I watch that at least once every October. I love Exorcist 3. People crap on it for some reason, but it's so good. It was like the precursor to Silence of the Lambs and Seven. Billy the Kid is Michael Hurst from the Vikings. I might check it out. Ace Ventura: Pet Detective was funny. Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls is a really stupid movie that has a couple of funny scenes in it. I think that he went too dumb with it. And I think that's why he never made an Ace Ventura 3. Because he got to thinking, how can I possibly go any dumber than I did with this film? What's the last game you purchased? A game that I bought 8th for Christmas. It's a Japanese RPG. I'm not going to say in case he's watching. Deadwood movie was great. I've been meaning to rewatch it. I love the Chinese guy in Deadwood. Because there was, for some reason, cocksucker was the favorite curse of everybody in Deadwood. And he said it with such gravitas and such real emotion, Switch it, cocksucker! It cracks me up every time. Every time that dude came on screen. I laugh just thinking about it. Bone Tomahawk, where the troglodytes split the guy down the middle, is a doozy too. Yeah, but that's more of an effect shot. What I'm talking about with Swearingen was acting. That was acting. I have a feeling the new Wolverine will be woke with little violence. Fans will reject it if that's the case. And I think they know that. If Sucker Punch team grows, maybe they'll dab back into Sly. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Is Cobra Kai a forgotten movie or a TV? It's a TV series, Chris. Or maybe I'm misunderstanding your question. Ace Ventura Jr. was dog crap. It was terrible. Exorcist 3 is a great film, especially with that true detective vibe. Absolutely. I love that people get it when people get it, because it's not a rehash of The Exorcist. It's a murder mystery. And it's filmed like a murder mystery. So it's like It's like watching Silence of the Lambs or Seven, but it came before both of those. And, it doesn't even become about an exorcism until the last 15 minutes of the movie. And up to that point, it's solving murders. And it's great. It's a fantastic movie. And I love that scene. My favorite scene, really, in the whole movie, besides the famous jump scare, one of the few really well done jump scares in movie history, my favorite scene is where George C. Scott is explaining to his priest friend why he doesn't want to go home because his mother-in-law is staying with them and she's wanting to cook them a carp, and she has the carp swimming around in his bathtub, and how he desperately wants to murder that carp. I love that scene because he tells that story just, deadpan, full seriousness. You can feel the hate he has for that fish in that scene. I love it. I love it. Such a good movie. The Crow is getting a remake. The Crow is getting a remake, and The Crow will be played by Skarsgård, the guy that played Pennywise in the It movies. I get the same nostalgia from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man as when I played the original Sly Cooper games. The characters are good. The boss fights were fun. Yeah, you know what? For like a 3D PS2 era platformer, that last boss fight in the first Sly Cooper, the one with the owl and having to protect the hippo, getting up the side of the mine and all that stuff, and the overall boss fight with the big owl and everything, that was surprising. I mean, I didn't have too much difficulty doing it, but that was surprisingly challenging for its day and for its genre. What TV or movie would you give the Cobra Kai treatment? Oh. The Last Starfighter. I think that would make a great series on Netflix to continue the story of The Last Starfighter. Thoughts on Blink 182 going back on tour? Would you go see them? If it wasn't too expensive and, they were playing close. I liked the first Dumb and Dumber okay. I didn't like the prequel or the sequel all that much. The sequel had some funny moments, but it was mostly just rehashing the jokes from the first film. Yeah, I'm not confident that The Crow will be good. The original Crow is iconic, and sure, some of the effects don't hold up, but it's got one of the best movie soundtracks ever, and to me, it's a timeless movie. There's nothing really in that movie aside from a couple of the effects shots that dates The Crow. As far as I'm concerned, it holds up. Well, remember, they already remade A-Team as a movie, Chris, and it sucked. And Blank Man was a crappy movie, so I wouldn't want to see another version of Blank Man. To me, Blank Man was just what they made because they knew that they would get crucified by the press if they did a Handyman movie. So they made Blank Man instead, and it sucked. They made a comedy movie about the GameStop stock market fiasco with Pete Davidson and Seth Rogen called Dumb Money. I haven't seen it. Typically, if it has the name Seth Rogen on it, I tend to avoid it these days. I used to like him. Now I don't like him all that much. The last thing that he did that I actually enjoyed was This Is the End. Although, me and Eighth watched the newest animated Turtles movie, and it wasn't that bad. It was okay. We had fun with it. Should Mark Cerny be CEO of PlayStation? Well, he's an engineer. He's not a business guy, so I don't know if he has the experience to be CEO. Maybe a very, very strong advisor to the CEO, but not the CEO himself. First season of Billy Kid is about him being a child moving to the West with his parents. Second season is when he becomes Billy the Kid with the Lincoln County regulators. Okay. So second season is like the first Young Guns. Gotcha. Which do you prefer better, Spotless Mind or The Truman Show? The Truman Show, because The Spotless Mind was pretentious bullshit. I hated that movie. Seventh, do you think SpongeBob is overrated? No, it is what it is. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I watched a lot of it because it was popular when Eighth was little. And some of the humor is more adult-leaning humor, so, I didn't complain that much when he'd want to watch it. Wong, yeah, Wong. Really, what sells Deadwood are the characters, man. Every character on that show is solid gold. Every single one. And the funny thing is, even though their personalities or whatnot weren't necessarily based on actual historical accuracy, there really was a guy named Swearingen who ran a hotel/bar/brothel in Deadwood. All the characters that are in it are based on actual people that lived there. Their personalities, different story. But some of the events that are depicted in it are based on actual events. Yeah, I tried to rewatch It Chapter 1 the other day, and I couldn't get through it. I was enjoying it all right until it got to the scene where Ben took them to his house, and Beverly closes the door, sees that there's a New Kids poster, and it plays like 3 or 4 seconds of a New Kids song, and that just felt like a joke that didn't belong in that movie. This was a horror film. You shouldn't have, sure, close the door and see the poster there, okay. But to actually play a clip of the song like a zinger, that shouldn't have been in there. And it took me out of the movie and I turned it off. I never got into Lost. Didn't like it. Calamity Jane. Yeah, I farted, so what? Yeah, she was funny. And she played someone who was mentally unhinged so well. You could smell her through the screen. You could just smell what she must have smelled like in real life on that show. Seventh, do you hate the Star Wars prequels? Not as much as I hate the sequels. I much prefer the prequel trilogy over the sequel trilogy. For real. Which was your favorite sitcom, Married with Children or Married with Children? Martin had some funny moments to it, but I was more of a Married with Children kind of guy. And speaking of Married with Children, Ed O'Neill, the guy that played Al Bundy, he's actually the star of my absolutely favorite Thanksgiving movie, which is called Dutch. And Dutch right now is on HBO Max if you want to go watch it. I love Dutch. I wish I could purchase it so I could be guaranteed to watch it every Thanksgiving, but it's currently not for sale on Amazon Prime. And I don't know if it ever got a Blu-ray release, but I love Dutch. Especially because there's a scene in Dutch that takes place in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, where my dad used to take me as a kid to buy fireworks for the 4th of July every year. And so there's a scene where he's trying to get to know this kid, and they're on a road trip together. So he stops to buy some fireworks, and I've been to that actual store where they filmed that scene multiple times. And so it's, aside from the fact that it's just a fun, good movie, I have a real soft spot in my heart for it because, there's so many scenes of it when they're driving through Tennessee and Georgia and whatever that I really identify with because I grew up around all that. No, I never really got into Malcolm in the Middle either. To me, Malcolm in the Middle was like a more adult version of The Adventures of Pete and Pete, which I never got into Pete and Pete either. A scene that got butchered in the It remake was the rock throwing scene. They turned it into an unfunny comedic scene. Yeah. A great final days movie, Watch Downfall, German actor spot on. I'm not really all that big into depictions of his life, and I'm not that big of a fan of World War II movies. It's just I got into Band of Brothers, but just seeing a movie about him as a person, I don't think I'd really care for that. There's more rumors of Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire. I'll believe it when I see it. Is that Tim Curry as the devil in the Tom Cruise movie? You're thinking of Legend, as close as we're ever going to get to a Legend of Zelda movie. Well, there were rumors for a while that Netflix was trying to do a Zelda show. I think that fell through. 7th, do you watch the YouTube channel Dead Meat, a.k.a. The Kill Count? No. By the way, we're down to our last 15 minutes. There have been 0 donations. No, I didn't watch Everybody Hates Chris. Imagine if it had the tunnel scene. I don't think it would ever have the tunnel scene. No one in their right mind would film that scene if you're thinking of the scene I'm thinking you're thinking of. 7th, do you like Tom Hanks as an actor? Yes and no. There's been some things that he did that I liked. There's been some things that he did that I didn't like. Just depends on the movie. Yes, I liked Castaway. Although I thought the whole Wilson thing was kind of stupid, but I liked Castaway. I could see them doing Zelda as a CG Shrek-like movie. I could see that. But doing it live action, God, please no. Please no. Did you like Saving Private Ryan? I liked sections of Saving Private Ryan. Some sections of it were very, very slow for me. But I liked parts of it. A Castaway sequel? Of course not. Of course not. That'd be the stupidest thing ever. I mean, I'm already, there's already so many sequels coming out that I'm like, why? Like making a sequel to Gladiator. Why? Commodus died. Maximus died. Why are you making another one? All the characters we cared about are dead. Any actors you think were miscast? Happens all the time, Chris. That's kind of a vague question. One example that just comes to the top of my head, Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. Totally miscast. I mainly like Polar Express for nostalgic reasons because it was something that me and 8th used to watch together for Christmas every year. He doesn't watch it with me anymore, so I haven't seen it in a long time. It's not one that I would sit and watch by myself. Spartacus is better. You just like Spartacus because it had a lot of booba in it. That's the only reason you liked Spartacus. Because it was gory, and it was done by the Evil Dead guys. You know, Scott Tappert and Ted Raimi and all them. It was produced by them. Had lots of booba. Had lots of, graphic sex scenes. That's why you like it. All the CG in those movies that Robert Zemeckis did with that motion capture technology looked dated. You know, Polar Express, Beowulf, Mars Needs Moms, they're all dated. They didn't age worth of crap. What was the other one they used that tech with? Jim Carrey's version of A Christmas Carol. They all look terrible now. What would you do if you crash landed on an island all alone? I'd make a fishing rod. That's the first thing I'd do is craft myself a fishing rod. Find me a nice sturdy branch off a tree. Find something to fashion some line with. Catch me some fish. I don't like fish, but I like eating better than not eating. I liked that game Ubisoft's Spartacus back on the I don't think I played that. Not familiar with that one. Crixus. 7th, what about Yeah, that was another one, but it had a more stylized look as opposed to trying to look like real people. So I think Monster House holds up better than the other ones. Do you like I Am Legend? It's okay. It's alright. I think I like some of the older ones better, the older versions of it. Should we have a mute Link or an excuse me princess? We shouldn't have either one. If they did a CG one, he's not going to be mute. And they would probably put an excuse me princess reference in there somewhere. You know they would. Tom Hanks is why people watched Polar Express. Well, that, and it was a book, and it was a popular book. Who was your favorite castaway on Gilligan's Island? The professor, because of some of the ridiculous inventions he'd come up with. It was absolutely asinine. Cracked me up. Do you think Will Smith's career will ever recover? Probably. I kind of doubt it, but you never know. You never know. You know, I thought Brendan Fraser was done for good, but here he is back being adored by the media, except for the ones that accused him of fat shaming. And, you know, why didn't they just hire a real fat person? Because they wouldn't have been able to put up with the physical tolls of filming the movie. There were elements of God of War that came from Legend of Zelda, but mostly it was a desire to try to one-up the third-person action genre coming out of Japan, particularly games like Ninja Gaiden and Devil May Cry. But they did borrow a couple of elements from Zelda, but it wasn't directly inspired by it. At least according to Jaffe. Who has a better narration voice, Tom Hanks or Morgan Freeman? I played a couple of hours of Sea of Stars, Farb. I haven't finished it yet. Just too many games right now. Too many games. Did you like Tom Hanks' Mr. Rogers? It was okay. It wasn't really the Mr. Rogers movie that I wanted. because it wasn't really about his life. It was about an interview he did once. Frankly, even though he didn't look or sound anything like him, I think I liked Tom Hanks' performance as Walt Disney better than his performance as Mr. Rogers. I can't remember the name of the movie, but he played Walt Disney in a movie. It was about him trying to get the rights to Mary Poppins to make a Mary Poppins movie. Did you like The Whale? I watched it. I thought it was a good movie, but not something I ever want to see again. I think a Returnal 2 would be greatly loved. It would be greatly loved by the 500,000 or so people that liked Returnal 1. Saving Mr. Banks. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. I liked him in that. Damn, at work, missing a lot of responses. Sorry about that, Rain. What was better, Ico or Shadow of the Colossus? Yeah, exactly. The Whale is good, but not rewatchable. Once you've seen it, you've seen it. That's not a movie where, oh, I love that so much, I haven't watched it in 6 months, I'm going to rewatch. No. That's like choosing to rewatch Silkwood. If you remember the movie Silkwood from the early 80s. It's like rewatching that. I mean, you can. The acting was very well done, but why? I don't even think Returnal was really a roguelike. It was just them taking their retro arcade style and reinterpreting it as a third-person 3D game. You know, basically, what Returnal boils down to is their top-down shooter Nex Machina, and they've just made it into a 3D game. That's what it is, with a plot. The Lady Killers is a remake, Chris. It had funny moments, but again, not really my favorite Tom Hanks movie, and not my favorite movie that the Coen brothers were involved in. I don't think they directed it. I think they wrote it or they produced it or something. Should God of War get a remake? No. The scrubbing scene still haunts me to this day. I'm amazed that you even knew the movie I was talking about, Chris, because, you know, I was a kid when that movie came out. That is an old movie. 7th, do you think Kojima's Death Stranding game was harshly viewed initially, but it's already a cult classic? It's already has a cult following, with people clamoring to play the sequel. I still haven't gotten into it at this point. You know, 8th swears by it, but I haven't gotten into it. Oh, man. Really starting to feel it in the neck. We got 4 minutes left, folks. 4 minutes left. Worse than Burn. Yeah, I didn't like Burn After Reading either. Is the first 3 years of the PS5 better than the first 3 years? No. Not so far. I don't think. What's your opinion on What's Eating Gilbert Grape? That's another one where you enjoy it when you watch it, but there's no real point in ever watching it again after you've seen it. It's not like there's dramas where even though you know everything that happens in it, anytime it's on TV, you rewatch it. Like The Green Mile, Shawshank Redemption, stuff like that. I even will rewatch Parenthood with Steve Martin. If Parenthood is is available on one of the streaming services, and I can't find anything else to watch, I'll watch Parenthood. But Silkwood and, The Whale and stuff, no. Terms of Endearment, Sophie's Choice. There's some movies where, it's a great drama, it's got great acting, great story and everything, but there's just something about it where you have no desire to rewatch it. I'll give you an anime example. Grave of the Fireflies. One of the greatest anime ever put to film, but I have zero desire to ever watch it again. Are you going to play the Dead Space remake? It's superb. Eventually I'll buy it. Is it necessary to get a PS5 right now? Well, that just depends on you. Depends on the type of games you like to play. Do you have any happy memories at Showbiz Pizza? I have a lot of memories from Showbiz Pizza, because we didn't have Chuck E. Cheese when I was a kid. Showbiz was it. And, I didn't get to go that often because, of course, my parents didn't make a lot of money. I was lucky if I got to go to Showbiz once a year. But I had a lot of fun at Showbiz, especially in the early years when it was the biggest arcade in town. Eventually, it became like Chuck E. Cheese, where you had a couple of arcade games, and then it was mostly prize stuff. But when they first opened it, when I was in grade school, it was all arcade games with a few prize games. Their arcade area used to be really big when I first started going there as a kid. Have you seen This Boy's Life with Neo and De Niro from 90? No. I've seen Dead Man Walking. But again, no desire to watch it again. Do you feel the same way about something like Pursuit of Happiness? Yes, I've seen that once, have no desire to watch it again. Did you like Pitch Black? I liked the first one, and I liked elements of the second one. I didn't care for the third one. Because the third one, to me, just felt like a rehash of the first one. Dead Space remake is on Game Pass. Yeah. Well, guys, it's 9 o'clock. We had 0 donations today, so this is where I say goodbye. I might post that Retro Palooza video next week, so be watching for that if I do make it. Otherwise, I will see you guys again next week. Same 7th time, same